Yo guys, Visionist Gen here, bringing you Marvel Rivals guide and gameplay for Black Panther following the latest Season 1.5 update, where I'll break down all of his abilities, including his team up, and as well as addressing his strengths and weaknesses. This is episode 10 of my new Hero Series guides, with all of the previous episodes on my channel, and on that note, let's get right into it. So Black Panther is one of the best and standout dive heroes in the game right now due to his speed and burst attacks, both his Vibranium Slash and Pounce abilities, which I'll go over all of them in a second, allow him to close distances fast between himself and the enemy and deal between 100 and 150 damage per combo, whilst his Kinetic Spear, which is his ranged ability, leaves enemies both vulnerable and easy to kill, and then of course combining this with the likes of his ultimate, which boosts his speed and damage output by 200 plus per leap, lets him chain eliminations really well, and just generally understanding the combination of how to reset his abilities whilst relying on his agility and the likes of his evasive abilities and his damage output in quick bursts is a nightmare for strategists to deal with, and why he's one of the most unlikely banned characters at the higher level in competitive, because there's not many characters that can actually deal with this character or counter him. And then with his cooldowns resetting on him earning kills, he thrives by being an aggressive dive character. His key strength is his agile burst ability and his reset potential on cooldowns. He has a base health of 300 health and a movement speed of 6 meters per second, which actually makes him one of the fastest standard moving characters in the game. His primary attack, Vibranium Claws, have a 35 damage per hit, a 3-meter range, and have a hit speed of half a second. So basically, this indicates that he's a very close quarter character and one of the best who thrives at, like I mentioned, diving and being up in the faces of the likes of strategists and other squishy players, where he can chain eliminations together, reset all of his abilities, and then evade out of situations when needed using his fast mobility and movement speed. And then utilizing his L2 ability, his Spear Toss, to throw a Vibranium Energy Spear forward, creating a Vibranium Force Field and attaching a Vibranium mark to enemies in its radius. It deals 45 damage, has 2 charges and a 6-second cooldown. It has a 60 meters per second speed and has a 5-meter radius on landing. Now, understanding how to use this and mark enemies is the key thing to understand here, because this is how you reset your abilities when you combine it with the likes of his R1 ability, his Spirit Rend, where he lunges forward, deals damage to enemies in their path, and then the Vibranium mark produces bonus health and resets the ability. It moves at 50 meters per second, has a 15-meter distance, deals 80 damage and an 8-second cooldown in between uses, but also gains him a 30 bonus health and a 75 max bonus health depending on how many enemies you can hit. And then you also want to combine this with his L1 ability, known as the Spinning Kick, where he effectively spirals forward, also attaching a Vibranium mark to hit enemies, has a 16-meter range, deals 70 damage, and then travels at a movement speed of 15 meters per second with an 8-second cooldown. So, to refresh all of that and summarize, you effectively want to use his L2 ability, the Spear Toss, throw that at one or more enemies. Any enemy that's hit within that radius will be hit with a Vibranium mark. You can then use your R1, your Spirit Rend, to dash in, deal a crazy amount of burst damage, and then from here you can then remark the targets using the Spinning Kick, mark them again, deal with more damage and moving around, and then press R1 again as he has 2 charges, and it will keep resetting his abilities, dealing crazy amount of damage where squishy targets do not stand a chance. And then of course combining this with the likes of his ultimate ability, as I mentioned, the Bast Descent, where he summons the Bast, or the Bast depending on how you want to pronounce it, where he pounces forward, dealing damage and attaches a Vibranium mark to enemies hit whilst refreshing the Spirit Rend, his R1 ability. Now this ultimate has a range of 22 meters, so it can hit multiple and many enemies in a grouped area, with a 20-meter width and a 7-meter height, so it can deal crazy amount of damage to grounded enemies. It does 150 damage and costs him 3,300 energy, so it's pretty easy to earn and quite a cheap ultimate in the grand scheme of things. So as you can see, combining all of these abilities and learning when to use them and how to reset the abilities is crucial, but you can do this really easily if you just go in the practice range, where you can then combine abilities against practice bots, try to figure out exactly the combo you want to use and how you would use them, and then from here you want to then try and effectively use his evasive movement, his subtle step, which is when you run up walls and you can then effectively double jump off the wall once you leave the wall, and that way you can escape and move around the map really well, combining all these abilities. And if you miss hit a combination where you've left yourself where you're basically vulnerable and you have no abilities left to be able to dash, you want to basically rely on his movement, his fast movement speed, and again his subtle step, in order to try and reposition yourself and then put yourself in a better position where you can try and chain enemies together in a tighter space. And that's effectively how he thrives. He also works really well in a 2-dive setup, so using his team up ability, the Wakandan Master, when magic is on the field, him and Psylocke can leap into the limbo mode where they are able to rewind a few seconds back to a previous position, and then after passing through this limbo, both Black Panther and Psylocke gain bonus health based on the missing health or the damage taken during that. And effectively, you gain up to 80% bonus health depending on the amount of damage you take, and you can use this ability every 30 seconds, which allows him, Psylocke, and Magic to be really cool, and when used together are really problematic for the backline players, as this dive combo is really effective, really fun to use, and I'll definitely recommend trying it out. I've done it a few times and it is really fun. But anyways guys, there you have it. That's the full guide of how to use Black Panther and all of his abilities, his strengths and weaknesses. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know down below if you have any cool clips or tips you want to share about Black Panther. I'm Visionist Gen, and I'll see you in the next one.